Hello and good morning. 150,000 people in this country are said to suffer from the debilitating condition called ME. But is it a disease that you catch like a virus, or is it a psychological disorder? Doctors can't agree. Sufferers themselves can't agree. But whatever it is, David, it's not what you call a bundle of laughs, is it?
It's not, Robert. No, it's an incredibly debilitating, disabling disease for most people. 1986, although I didn't get a diagnosis for 4 years, bland because my doctors didn't know what was wrong with me. I kept them going with what to them were bizarre symptoms. They didn't know what was going on. They say, take a test. I started off with a lot of joint pains, muscle pain, general fatigability, and various other neurological symptoms that came on over the years.
What were the
and they
neurological
got
symptoms?
worse because I wasn't told to rest in the early stages. So I went swimming, tried to go swimming and get fit. They just get worse. Sorry.
What were the other, you say, neurological symptoms?
Yeah,
what were they?
really weird stuff. My first really weird one was like when the muscles were really, really painful. And like you'd only walked about sort of 100 yards or something. You think, what's going on? I was on the seafront in Brighton in the summer, and my leg gave way. I sat on the ground crying. I didn't know what was going on. Again, before diagnosis. Really weird kind of rippling sensations in the thigh muscles. Very, very...
What did you think was going on?
I thought I might be going mad. I didn't know. Cancer springs to mind. I had an HIV test. I've got no idea why straight away. But you don't know. You haven't got a diagnosis. You think the worst. You know you're feeling so ill.
Well, you'd doing it in your sleep.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, you don't know what's going on, Robert. That's the problem. And because, unfortunately, a lot of doctors, and I'm not blaming GPs here, because I know that they need training. Obviously, perhaps they don't get enough training. I don't think the doctors will tell you more about this. But a lot of the GPs appear to be in the dark. I had to leave 3 GPs in Brighton before I found a GP who diagnosed me.
Does it exist, Peter?
I don't know, Robert, to be perfectly honest. I see a lot of people with ME with the label attaching to them, and I should say first
what is this ME? What is it?
Well, I think it's a very unfortunate name to start with, and I much prefer the terminology that I think a lot of neurologists employ now, chronic fatigue syndrome or syndromes plural, because there may well be more than one.
One of those damaging things. It's an important point, though.
No, I'll come back.
My expertise against the background of neurology in general is neuromuscular disease, so a lot of people with the symptoms that our friend up there has just described are sent to me as query ME. Now, my prime responsibility, as I see it, is to make absolutely sure that they have not got a form of muscle disease that can be identified using the various highly sophisticated diagnostic technology that we have at our disposal now. And one thinks particularly in that context of myasthenia gravis, perhaps most importantly. Also inflammatory muscle disease, and the young gentleman's symptoms up the back there certainly would have suggested that to me if I'd seen him early on.
Again, I had a rheumatoid factor test, and it was negative. So
one of the other
what are you suggesting, that there are specified?
There are a certain number of neuromuscular diseases which would come into the ME bracket, if you like, and have to be excluded because they are eminently treatable. Myasthenia gravis, inflammatory muscle disease, and then a variety of metabolic muscle diseases where muscle chemistry is.
Does this exist, Emmy? Do we go along with the doctor?
Well, I would separate ME from something called chronic fatigue syndrome. Now, chronic fatigue syndrome means different things in different parts of the world. Here in Britain, it's a very broad term. It really refers to all cases of unexplained chronic fatigue lasting anything up to 6 weeks. So ME is to CFS what migraine is to headaches. Fatigue is a symptom, not an illness. But ME is a clinical entity, diagnosable using brain scans now. We've got an abnormality which has been found in no other patient group. There's lots of research, but unfortunately most doctors don't know about it because publications like the PMJ sadly don't like to focus on the non-psychological side.
Doctors are ignorant about many things, perhaps chronic fatigue syndromes most of all. If I can comment first of all on the scan evidence of abnormalities in limbic system circulation, and that I suspect is what the lady is referring to.
No.
As I understand it, it's not my area of expertise, but I'm familiar with the work that's been done in London recently, and in fact a young man working for me at the moment was involved in it. There is, as I understand it, no absolutely hard evidence that there are such abnormalities consistently, and one would need very big population studies to be sure about it quite clearly.
We've got something which is 100%.
Well, so we're saying everybody here who's got ME has got the same abnormality?
So far, all the patients with ME have got the same abnormality, and it's been replicated abroad.
It's my daughter. Yeah. I found with Sarah, it started from chickenpox, which she never got well from. And like a persistent virus, cold sores, continuous ill. It went on for 2 years. Just went to all the hay. And Dr. Sills diagnosed post-viral syndrome, but classed as ME.
Is that right?
That's a plausible story, and I certainly wouldn't quarrel with it.
Yes.
Most of the patients I see personally, whether they're adolescents like our young friend here,
Yeah.
or young adults, and they're either one or the other in the majority of instances, have a clear story that would be consistent with some form of viral infection, not necessarily as specific as chickenpox, the one I perhaps see most often.
So what are we using here? We're using, I mean, if you've got chickenpox, you've got chickenpox. If you've got rabies, you've got rabies. If you've got cancer, you've got cancer. We know what, you can identify wherever it is.
When you have an attack of chickenpox, Robert, you've got the virus for life.
Right.
Because
But
you may...
what I was trying to get to, Peter, there's something you can clearly identify. Yet here, it seems to me you're almost using the medical profession a kind of blanket description to cover a multitude of different illnesses.
I think that's a bit hard, actually. I mean,
if you don't understand something, it's very easy to cop out of it. Of course, blood tests are expensive, there's limited budgets and so forth, and if you don't understand it, you just say there's people out there who've got ME, and doctors are saying to them, you're just a wee bit depressed.
Well, that is the disgusting situation in this country.
Hang on. Go on, Nicky. No, please, doctor, you know I can't get you there. Go on, Nicky.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, you know, as you probably know, my wife's got it. I was lucky. I could pick up a phone, say to a journalist, I'm giving up work for a little time because my wife's got ME and it's in the papers and that's good publicity. But I feel for the people out there.
To be here today.
Oh, she did too much yesterday. And doing too much for you or me is running a half marathon. Doing too much for her is going up the stairs.
Yeah.
That's the point. And it's too much this lady here for her.
Is it a problem in getting diagnosed? Is that part of the difficulty? I mean, if you go with a broken leg. If you go with cancer of the lung or whatever, you identify. Here, people are passing you from pillar to post, giving you all kinds of explanations of what's wrong.
We've done a survey showing that 61% of GPs in this country are currently unwilling or unable to make an action for ME. It's a patient group to help ME sufferers. They're either unwilling or unable to make a diagnosis of ME. Now, we don't really just blame the doctors. We look at where are they getting their information from, and we've today published a survey showing that the medical press is reporting in either a biased or at best unbalanced way the world research that's going on. Ellen has just told us here there is hard facts showing that there are neurological abnormalities associated with ME. There were 5 papers published in the last 18 months on this. In the medical press there was just 1 article about this, and most of the articles are about things like cold baths or poor sleep. Why is it that the medical press just seizes upon the things that just reinforce this yuppie flu image? There's obviously prejudice in the medical profession, there's prejudice in the medical press, and hopefully we'll talk about the political side of this later on. It's a scandal and it's got to be changed.
I myself have actually recovered totally from ME. When I was first ill, it was actually before ME was even put forward as the name. It was Welfare disease or Iceland disease. And my own diagnosis eventually was made by, I think, Dr. Ramsey, who actually coined the phrase ME. Now, I'm not sure now that it is helpful that the argument is about the name of the illness at all. At the time...
We do need, the name is just the word. We use words to give descriptions. They're wise men's counters, as Thomas Hobbes said. But what we're talking about here is that you need a label that actually clearly identifies a clear, specific thing. That's why we have it. It doesn't mean that the words aren't important. What it does is what it signifies. And our problem here is it signifies a multitude of different things.
Right. I've actually counselled a lot of people with ME, and I'm not sure exactly in the end what has been the cause of their illness. All I know is that they are suffering from very debilitating symptoms, and I suppose my concern is what can actually help them feel better right now. I think there may be a number of causes of this condition. All of those need addressing.
But we're saying there is a condition.
There is certainly a condition. It's a very,
that you and I can agree upon.
That
all the doctors will agree upon.
An important point, Robert, is what we don't call it. Let's never again call it yuppie flu.
Right.